Welcome to the Inspire podcast, presented by Living Sisu.
You have to be willing to put your pride aside and buckle down and admit you don't know how to do something and teach yourself. If you can't find someone to teach you, teach yourself. We can teach ourselves amazing things.
Who you are, what sport you play, or the level you're at, we all have one thing in common. We have to overcome adversity and tough challenges. Welcome to the Sisu mindset. Welcome back to another episode of the Inspire podcast, presented by Living Sisu. I'm Zach Fucali, one of your hosts today, and very interesting today. I'm by myself. It's a solo mission. Usually we have at least two of our hosts here, our amazing hosts that help out in the podcast. But today, I'm by myself, so it's going to be an interesting one. But our guest in general, Catharine Arnston, was super interesting. Founder and CEO of ENERGYbits, who is a Living Sisu partner. So it was an amazing story of resilience. She went through a lot of challenges to get the company where it is at today. We talk about Shark Tank. We talk about basically the nutrition behind spirulina and algae and chlorella, which is super interesting. Like, I'm a super big proponent, or how can I say this? I identify more to kind of animal-based nutrition, and we all have what works for us. But Catharine brings super great points on how algae could be a nice piece to the puzzle here, and we talk about that. We talk about solving puzzles and going through challenges and nutrition in general. We took a little bit of a deep dive as well in the nutrition, in the algae kind of conversation, which is not very common nowadays. So she's on a mission, woman on a mission. It's super great to see. We're super excited to have ENERGYbits as a partner. And I honestly think you guys are going to enjoy this episode because it's a good mix of really technical nutrition stuff, or that's kind of wacky and strange, but she brings great points. And also, on the other hand, she brings a wealth of experience to the Inspire podcast to really inspire us. She's been through the ringer. She says she called herself, "I'm no spring chicken," is at some point she says, and it's great because she brought some really inspiring points. So I hope you guys really enjoy this episode. I'd love to hear your feedback. And just before we start, you guys don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And this episode is also brought to you by ENERGYbits, which we'll talk in great detail during the episode with Catharine. But Living Sisu members could take advantage of 20% off, and by using the code Living Sisu, and you just got to sign up for free. It's a super great partnership that's starting. We really thank the support of Catharine and the ENERGYbits company in general, and they make great products. So it could be a very good addition to either your training regimen or your health in general. So thank you very much, Catharine and ENERGYbits. And without further ado, let's go meet Catharine and enjoy today's podcast, guys. Have a good one. So Catharine Arnston, very nice to have you on the podcast, the Inspire podcast. How are you today?
I am doing great. I'm always great.
Oh, is that right? It seems really sunny where you're at right now.
Well, it's bright. It's actually overcast. I'm in Boston, but we'll take anything without snow. So it's a good day. At
this point of the year, we're done with the snow. You want to get on with it and get to the warmer weather, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. So usually every guest that comes on the Inspire podcast, we usually kind of break the ice this way. Usually I have a co-host with me. Today I'm doing it solo. So here we go.
Okay.
And it's just going to be you and me. And usually we kind of break the ice by kind of a little self-description in 3 words, if you could start us off that way.
3 words? Oh my God. Passionate, purposeful, and unstoppable.
Unstoppable. I like that. It's actually the first time I've heard it that way as a self-description, and I think you have the journey to prove those
That's
words.
right.
And let's start at the beginning, right? Let's start with your journey. Now, if people already know that you are CEO and founder of ENERGYbits, and it's an amazing story. And we were just chatting before this started how you're being contacted by some pretty
big players now. We're finally getting discovered. Someone lifted the hood and found us.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes years, and you prove that that kind of tenacity, that perseverance, and go through all these challenges. So let's get into that. How did it start?
Okay.
And Catharine Arnston, from the beginning, day one.
Yeah. Okay. Well. First of all, I want people to know that what we sell and what my company is, ENERGYbits. We sell algae in small tablet form. There's 2 types. We're going to talk about them, spirulina and chlorella. And they're a game changer for your health, your performance, your brain, the environment. And I certainly didn't plan on pursuing a career in algae. I am Canadian. I did all my schooling at an MBA in international business, and I had a corporate career for 25 years, which was satisfying enough. And then out of the blue, my younger sister in Canada developed breast cancer. Now, I wanted to let everybody know she's fine. She's 10 years cancer-free. But as she was preparing for her chemo, her oncologist, which is a cancer specialist, advised her to change her diet to an alkaline diet because it would help with her healing. Now, they didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was or why it was good for her. So when she got home, the first thing she did was call me because I'm her big sis, and also because I love her, and I still love her. I love her to death.
Family first, always, huh?
Yeah. And also because I'm a really good researcher. I can find out anything. That's why the unstoppable part is part of that. So I said to her, here I'm a corporate executive. I'm like, what do I know about nutrition? And this is 12 years ago. Nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition then. I said, I have no idea, but I will find out and we will make this happen. And so I did some research, and it did turn out that a alkaline diet was predominantly a plant-based diet because of the phytonutrients and the chlorophyll that have been scientifically proven to build your immune system. And of course, she wanted her to have a strong immune system for her chemotherapy. So she did change her diet. She went through chemo. She completely healed. And then in the process of helping her, I started reading about plant-based nutrition. And by the time I got to my 12th book, I thought, oh my gosh, this is pretty powerful stuff. Somebody should tell the rest of the world. And I had no idea how or no education, but I thought, I'm going to do this. So I thought, well, I need some education. So I got a certificate in health coaching from a place called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And so in 2019, when I graduated from my nutrition school, I put a curriculum together, and I taught plant-based nutrition for free at corporations and hospitals, teaching people about the importance of vegetables. And this is where my epiphany that led me to algae happened. My epiphany was this, and everybody who's listening will appreciate this. I wasn't telling anybody anything they already didn't know. Our mothers have been telling us to eat our vegetables and our salads since we were kids, right? But and everybody knows they should eat more vegetables. But the reality is there's too many obstacles. You probably don't live near a grocery store, or maybe they're too heavy to carry home from the grocery store.
Accessibility sometimes, right?
They take a lot of room in your fridge. Maybe you don't have a big enough fridge. They take a lot of time to clean, to cook, to eat. Maybe you don't like them. Maybe your kids don't like them, or your husband doesn't eat them. So what I learned by teaching the importance of this nutrition was that everybody knew what they should do, but there were too many obstacles. So being the passionate, purposeful, unstoppable person that I am, I thought, okay, I have to find a way to get this green nutrition into them in a way that's fast, simple, easy, pure, blah, blah, blah. Didn't, again, know what I was going to find, but back to the internet I went. And I did a deeper dive on everything I had found for my sister. Nothing was working. And then boom, I got to algae. That's when the magic happened, because algae turns out to be the most alkaline food in the world, which is what got me started on this entire journey. It also happens to be the most nutrient-dense food in the world. Even NASA says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables. So 1 to 1,000. That's why they plan to grow it in space. They feed it to the astronauts. It's very efficient nutrition. So on top of it being alkaline, nutrient dense, it has the highest concentration of chlorophyll in the world. Chlorophyll is what makes plants green, so it's the good stuff. And it has 1,000 times more chlorophyll than even Chinese greens. On top of that,
how is chlorophyll? How is chlorophyll useful to us humans?
Oh, well, we'll get into that when I talk about the two algae, because chlorophyll builds your blood, builds your immune system.
Let's put a pin on that one then.
Yeah. I'll cover that one. You can count on that one. So algae's also been used for thousands of years, most notably in Asia, where it is a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop. And this is probably the biggest thing people don't realize, is that algae is a food. It is not a supplement. It's a vegetable. It's a type of vegetable. And here's a picture of an algae spirulina farm. And so you need food in your body. Food is always the best thing for you, and algae is a food. And it's been grown that way for 50 years. It's almost as big as the beef industry is here. That's how big an agricultural crop algae is in Asia. And it's been sold here, but no one's ever explained what it is or how it works. So it's got all the nutrients, all the alkaline, all the chlorophyll. It's been used safely in other countries for over 50 years. And on top of that, it's the most studied food in the world. There are 50,000 studies about spirulina and 50,000 studies about chlorella. The problem is scientists like to talk to other scientists. So no one's ever taken this science and made it available and easy to understand by, athletes or consumers or even practitioners.
Right, you and me, individual, everyday people, right?
Right. And the quality's been very poor. A lot of the algae came from China. Like 99% of the algae is grown in Asia. So I thought, okay, I've seen the science. I know that this stuff works. By the way, in Japan, they don't take vitamins. They only take chlorella algae. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And they have some of the best longevity, lowest cancer rates, and great skin and hair. So they're clearly doing something right. So I thought, okay, I'm going to devote the rest of my life helping people understand what algae is, because it's not pond scum. It's truly a superfood. I call it a super duper food.
You went a level deeper, huh?
Yeah. So that's what I started doing about 10 years ago. I started the company in 2010 officially, and here I am almost 11 years later. But I am fully armed. I can go toe to toe with any medical professional and carry my own knowledge of biochemistry, because I'm pretty much self-taught, because I want people to believe me, because the science is there, the history is there, and I design all the packaging too. I mean, the packaging used to be really weird, but I make it really attractive, so that
it's true. And I came across ENERGYbits when I was still in junior, almost 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
And yeah. I was one of the guys that I stumbled upon it. I don't know. And I always like to research. Anybody that's close to me or a friend of mine knows that I love to talk about nutrition, and all my friends will laugh at this, and people that know me, because that's true. I love to talk about it, and I love your story, and I'd like to know. I'd like to go back to the moment where you've found algae in general. Did you stumble upon it, or was it somebody that kind of pointed you in the right direction?
I just found it, and I will tell you, one of the reasons why it's taken me so long to get this far is that for the first 2 years when I was pursuing this, I couldn't believe what I was reading, because remember, I don't have any biochemistry, no nutrition background, no physiology. I'm a MBA. What do I know about nutrition in the body? And so,
but what's interesting about that is you had a powerful motivator behind that, and that was your sister, and you needed to figure it out. And I think that's a big part of the story that we need to highlight, because you can't just be MBA and kind of a business mind and just stumble upon something and go so deep. You need a motivator, and you had that. That's very cool.
It's clear that this was my path. It became very clear to me, but I kept fighting it. It's like, no, I was like telling the universe, no, find somebody else. I don't have any background in this. Like, why me? Why are you picking me? I'm the least likely candidate, because I have no, PhD or anything, but I feel I got a PhD in algae. But I think what I'd like to share with your community, and I look back on it now, first of all, I wasn't planning on building a company. I just wanted to help my sister. That's it. Right. And then after I helped her, I thought, now I know a little bit more. I could help a few more people. So then I, went to school and learned, and that I didn't know what I was going to do with my education. And then I thought, well, I'll teach it. And then as I started teaching it, I thought, I gotta reach a larger group because there's clearly a larger problem than I was aware of. Right. So my message to your community and your listeners are that, very often the thing that you really should be doing, it will never shout at you. This is not Las Vegas, lots of bright lights. It's not New York Times. This is a quiet little voice that it's sort of like, it just keeps showing up in a very subtle, soft way. And it's like exploring something in your mouth. You keep running your tongue over it until you can't not do it. And so I just kept trying to fight it, but it kept coming back. And so you're smart, you can do something, but it's like, why me? Pick somebody else. But finally I just thought, okay, all right, I'm in. But it did take me the first 2 years because I had to be 100% sure I don't do anything half-assed. So it took me 2 years of truly reading and cross-referencing to be absolutely sure that what I was reading was correct. Because I thought, why hasn't anybody else figured this out? Because it's like the emperor wears no clothes. Algae was the first life on Earth 4 billion years ago. It's still here. And it is the most nutrient-dense food in the universe. And yet nobody was making it easy for people to understand what it was. And I finally realized it's because, it's a vegetable. So, food biotech companies can't patent it. So they have no interest in helping you learn about algae. Number two, food companies don't launch new industries. They wait till someone like me has discovered something that is very powerful, and they wait until we're bigger and proven the market. So the food companies weren't going to do it. And think about it. You only know what you know. And if you didn't grow up with algae, like here in Boston, we see Dunkin' Donut trucks going by. So like everybody knows about donuts. And in the Midwest in America or in Canada, you see trucks going by with wheat on the way to the mill, and so you only know the things that you grew up with. They're part of your day-to-day existence. And in Asia, algae is as normal as beef or wheat here. It's just that it hasn't been introduced here, so we don't see it in our day-to-day life. We don't see it in anywhere. So the challenge was to try to bring it to people's attention. And that's why I realized I had to package it in a way and give it names that people could understand, because you're going to learn that spirulina gives you energy. So I thought, well, let's call it ENERGYbits, because we call them bits, by the way, because they're bits of food, because as I mentioned, it's a food crop. So I'm doing everything. I'm taking all of my sort of marketing expertise that I used in other industries and applying it to here, but for a good cause. Helping people be healthy naturally, because we're far too sick. There's too much diabetes, there's too much heart disease, there's too much obesity.
I agree.
And it's because we're eating poorly and we're full of toxins. And the algae
it's our challenge nowadays to kind of eliminate all the noise around nutrition, and there's so much misinformation. And at the end of the day, we just want to bring it back to the roots of how we've been eating for millions of years. And I think that's super important. I think you're kind of trying to deliver that message to as many people as possible. It started with your sister, but now you're kind of bringing it at scale to as many people. And it's obviously a great challenge. But let's talk about that, because if we relate it back to sports and kind of the Living Sisu community and the everyday person that could benefit from either ENERGYbits or spirulina kind of in their nutrition, who do you think this is mainly targeted at? Is it endurance athletes? Is it everyday people? Should this be part of the regiment for mom and dad, everybody, or it should be more performance driven?
It's for everyone, and here's why. We have a damaged environment. Our soils have no nutrients in them anymore, or they're monocropped, or they use glyphosate. So even if you're eating organic, there's not the same nutrition in the plants or the animals that there were 50 years ago. So you're getting calories and you're getting fiber. You are not getting nutrition. And your body functions best on nutrition. So if you don't give it nutrition, it's not going to function for you. Certainly during this COVID time, having a strong immune system, it can't defend you if it doesn't have a strong immune system. So number one, everybody should be taking algae. And when you do take algae, and we're going to talk about the two of them, because it's so nutrient dense, has 40 vitamins and minerals, 3 times the amount of protein as steak. It has the highest concentration of protein in the world. That's why the United Nations endorsed spirulina as the answer to world hunger. They had a global conference in 1974. That's almost 50 years ago. Even they recognized the power of algae, except it hasn't made its way out there. So whether you are you want to replace all those fake supplements that you're taking with spirulina, which would replace your fish oil. By the way, we're having so much damage in the ocean because of the overfishing of fish for fish oil, because everybody knows the fish oil has omega-3, which reduces inflammation, which is very important. Almost all illnesses are traced back to too much inflammation. But I tell people, well, where do you think the fish get the omega-3 from? They get it from algae. So,
right.
And almost all fish oil. Yeah, so go to the original source. Most fish oil, almost all fish oil, in fact, goes rancid after about a month. So here you're taking fish oil to reduce inflammation, and you're actually causing it. So if you want to,
and stuff, no, it is a real problem, and we're speaking the same language here. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So as an average consumer, algae will simplify your life. It will replace fake artificial nutrients or supplements that your body isn't absorbing anyways with something that it will is 99% bioavailable from, like algae. Number 2, if you are have a specific dietary focus like paleo or keto, algae is keto friendly, has 0 carbs, and it satisfies your hunger with all that high protein and essential fatty acids. So you can do intermittent fasting and not break your intermittent fast. So that's great. If you're an athlete, you can't get any better performance than from spirulina algae as a pregame and chlorella algae as a postgame. And to prove that point, we fuel 5 NHL teams. We've worked with Brandon Proust, Andrew Ference. We fueled so many Olympic teams when we were back in the Winter Sochi Olympics. I sent 2 of my team over to the Olympics, and we had complete open invitation to the Olympic Village, the American and the Canadian Village, which was really exciting.
That's awesome.
And the athletes love it because the spirulina gives you energy naturally and focus. It's the focus that they weren't expecting, and it does not upset your stomach. If you take bars and gels and goos, which have lots of sugar and carbs, you'll get stomach distress and cramps. None of that happens with the spirulina because it gets absorbed so quickly. It's technically a bacteria. It doesn't have any cellulose wall. And the high protein is already in amino acids. It's loaded with B vitamins, which convert the aminos into energy. It's a vasodilator. It has boron, which helps with your thought. Essential fatty acids will help with your thought. It has iron that carries oxygen. You won't get any better performance than from algae, the spirulina. And then athletes take the chlorella afterwards, because chlorella, as you're going to find out, is a detoxing algae and a wellness algae, which is why it helps you recover from anything. So we call ours ENERGYbits, because you recover from your sports, because it pulls out lactic acid, or you recover from drinking. I know hockey players love to drink, so that could be a bonus too. It will pull out any alcohol afterwards. You'll be stone sober in an hour and a half, and you'll never have a hangover. But it also pulls out heavy metals, lead, mercury, radiation, aluminum. If anybody's getting a vaccine, there's aluminum in there. You'll want to pull that aluminum out. So if you're an athlete, the pre-workout fuel from spirulina and the post-workout fuel from the chlorella is like a twofer. It's just unbelievable. And let's face it, men and kids don't like to eat vegetables, and so each one of these tablets, as I said, we sell them.
And why is that though? Is there some type of explanation that you can have for us on why that is? It's an interesting question.
Well, women just generally will work a little harder because women tend to focus on the health of their family more than the. And I know I'm making a broad generalization.
I mean, it's all right.
And I do apologize.
You're all right.
Because so men, women will eat something if they know it's healthy for them, even though they may not like it. If they know it's good for them, they'll do it. Men are less likely to do that. But here's the great thing, is I want to show you. This is spirulina, which is a blue-green algae. See how much darker it is? That's because it has 2 pigments. And this is chlorella, which is a green algae. But what I want you to see are these tiny little tablets. See how small they are? They're about the size of a baby aspirin. So because remember I said 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of vegetables.
I remember.
Each one of these tablets has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. So while I'm just talking to you, I just had a plate of vegetables. And if you don't like the taste, you can just swallow them. So that's why we put this little chart together. If you don't have time to eat a plate of vegetables, just have that.
There you go.
One tablet, and you've met your nutritional greens needs for the day.
Super interesting. And I'd love to hear a little bit. See, like I was telling you, I'm super interested in nutrition and all that, and I've dabbled into the ENERGYbits a long time ago. I experimented with all types of diets and all types of supplements, and I'm trying something new right now. I've done for about a year, which is very, very interesting to me. But what about bioavailability of all these proteins and different within algae? What's been researched on the bioavailability of the proteins, of all the vitamins and the minerals inside there?
Well, that's a good question. And so, for example, when you eat animal protein, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't eat animal protein, because I do too. I just eat it, judiciously, or I choose wisely with grass-fed.
I say that because it is known that animal protein and animal products in general are the most bioavailable form of amino acids and so many different nutrients. So it's just interesting to me that if algae has all these things, I'm interested to know about the bioavailability and how that kind of compares to animal products.
Yeah, the only problem with animal protein in terms of bioavailability is that it can take your body up to 3 days to break the protein down into amino acids, and quite honestly, very often you only end up absorbing 10% of the protein as aminos. Whereas with spirulina, both algae actually, because the protein is already in amino acid form, there is nothing for your body to have to work at to get access to the aminos. They are 99% bioavailable, particularly for the spirulina, because it is technically a bacteria. It's called a cyanobacteria. It has no cellulose wall. So not only does your body, and there's 18 of the 20 aminos in both of them. So it's a complete protein. So it makes all the protein, you get all the proteins that your body can't make. So that's also really good. And because it has all the proteins, and because there's no cellulose wall, your body can absorb it very quickly. Now, 30 tablets. We sell the tablets in small single servings too. Sorry, upside down.
Yeah.
And we have 30 tablets in a pouch. Now, we used to, for athletes, we encourage you to take the full 30 for optimal performance. But for mere mortals, on a day-to-day basis, 5, 3, 4, 5 a day, 10 a day if you want. Although please feel free to take more, because it's just food, and it doesn't, there's no upper limit. It's not a pill. We call them bits. Remember, we call them bits because they're bits of food. And I personally take about 100 chlorella tablets a day or more because I love the stuff. But what I wanted to tell you is that 30 of these tablets has only 5 grams of protein. And you might think, well, that's pretty cheesy, 5 grams, that's nothing. But what I want to compare it to is if you eat 50 grams of animal protein and it takes 3 days for your body to break it down into aminos and you only absorb 10% of it, that becomes 5 grams. So you're basically getting the same amount from the serving of 30 tablets as you would from 50 grams of animal protein.
Very interesting. And I can't refute any of that because I don't have enough of that knowledge like you do. So I wouldn't be able to counter anything like that. But I think that's very interesting, and it's so cool. And to come to this point where you're super knowledgeable and ENERGYbits has become so successful. You've been through a lot of challenges, and that's one of the things that we talk about a lot on the Inspire podcast, is to really inspire the next generation of athletes and Olympians and pros. And that goes from business people like you to health professionals that you can almost be in that same category of health professional.
Yeah, I consider myself an educator, really.
There you go. And we all have lessons to give to the next generation of pros and athletes and Olympians. And that's what I want to dive into right now. And now ENERGYbits has had some success, but it didn't come without its fair share of challenges. And what would be one of the main challenges or adversity you faced early on to get to this point?
Well, I sort of alluded to it at first, which was the self-doubt, because I had no background whatsoever. I had no mentors. Everybody, my family, my friends, they all thought I was crazy, but I couldn't really explain why I felt I had to do this. And I didn't have the background as, traditional schooling to know that what I was reading was accurate. So the self-doubt was very, very difficult. And in fact, I was in the hospital a number of times because of the stress level that was causing me health conditions. But I refused to give up because I just felt, I felt like, if you see someone drowning in a pool, do you jump in to save them or not? And I felt I was somehow miraculously given access to this knowledge, and I felt a responsibility to share it. So the self-doubt issue, I would encourage anyone, again, it's that quiet little voice that doesn't seem to make any sense, but if it compels you to do something, I would just say, go and do it. And each day, just take one day at a time, because I felt that I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. I'm a hard worker, and hard work doesn't frighten me. I was frankly afraid that I might run out of energy before I accomplished my goal, but I just did things that whatever it took. I mean, people kept telling me to go on Shark Tank, and I don't seek the spotlight, but eventually I thought, okay, all right, I'll apply. And it was like a full-time job trying to get on the show, but I did get on the show, and they've aired me like 25 times, and it gave me a lot of credibility. They didn't invest, and I didn't want their money, but I would just, like I said, I'm unstoppable. I've redesigned our packaging probably 10 or 20 times. I won an award from Entrepreneur Magazine for, 6 years ago for my initiatives. And I just kept going. If people weren't getting it, I thought, okay, I must be doing something wrong. Like, you have to step back and see, like, is your message wrong? Are the people that you're seeking? If people aren't hearing what you have to say, you've got to find someone who does understand it, because you will just, even if it means you have to start from scratch, it's no different than someone who wants to be an Olympic athlete. You're not going to go from, some young college kid or high school kid to a podium at the Olympics overnight. You got to go back and practice and practice and practice and do it again and do it again and do it again.
And hit a wall and fail and
fail.
Absolutely.
You have to be willing. You have to be willing to put your pride aside and buckle down and admit you don't know how to do something, and teach yourself. If you can't find someone to teach you, teach yourself. We can teach ourselves amazing things, but we all give up. People give up way too early, and again, the thing that kept me going was I felt this remarkable responsibility to keep going. It had nothing to do with me. It was me making a difference in the world. That was what kept me going. It had nothing to do with me making money or stardom or anything, because I don't seek that.
That's super interesting that you say that, because that's kind of a recurring thing that happens with people that are building something or trying to make it to a level that a lot of people don't see it's not very accessible to them. For example, pro sports or the Olympics or a gold medal or building a huge business. I feel like most people that get all the way is they don't really do it for themselves. They do it so that they give access to somebody else, or they inspire somebody else, or their family, or a friend, or for you, maybe it was your sister that's been in the back of your mind pushing you. Would you say that you've had something that just keeps pushing you?
Oh,
even
completely.
Even with the challenges.
Like it's the universe, and I keep saying, leave me alone, but it doesn't. I don't want it to leave me alone now, because I see that I'm making a difference. We have people writing us, telling us their cancer's gone into remission, or their kids that don't have ADHD anymore, or their digestion is improved, or they're 70 years old and they're running marathons. And so I know that we're making a difference in people's lives, because it's really hard to find clean, nutrient-dense food these days. And I had I turned down investors who wanted me to sell through GNC, and it's like, no, I want to be sold through organizations that have the same values that I do. So we
Right.
sell only through doctors and chiropractors. We sell on our website, and we're starting to expand now that the message is getting out there. But
Also a partner with Living Sisu.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that's funny. You were talking about Shark Tank. And
Yeah.
everybody loves Shark Tank. We love watching it and all that. But what was the main lesson that must have been an interesting kind of experience, it seems like you didn't get an offer, and actually it doesn't seem that you didn't get an offer. And was that a hard experience, and what did you learn from it?
No, because I didn't want an offer.
Is that right?
I only wanted to get on the show to get the word out about algae. So I got exactly what I wanted, but once again, I didn't do it for myself or the fame or anything. And so when I decided I would approach it, I didn't know anybody. I just went online. I just applied online like every other thousands. And by the way, 40,000 companies apply every year, and they only accept 100. So they say it's harder to get into Shark Tank than it is to get into Harvard. And so it was like a full-time job. I mean, I had to send them financials and samples and literature and more literature, and I had to send videos and rehearse, and was interviewed for every week for like 6 weeks and blah, blah,
Wow.
blah. So I the exact thing that happened, I got what I wanted out of it, which was I wanted to get on the show to get the word about algae. I knew they wouldn't invest because they're looking for stuff that they can take to QVC or Walmart or something. And when I started this company, I turned down venture capital because I knew they wouldn't be patient. The investors need an exit within 6 years, and I knew that this was going to be a long haul. And it's been 11 years, and we're finally starting to see some results. And so maybe in the next few years, if it is appropriate, it might be the right time to take an investment. But I'm not. I don't cut corners, and I'm a perfectionist, and I want the message to be clean and for people to understand what it is. And what I would also tell your listeners, because this may happen to you, you may have an idea for something, as I did for this once I got rolling, and people weren't getting it. They weren't understanding what I was trying to share with them. And it's the analogy I've come up with is, I'm sure everybody who's listening has done a puzzle, right? We've all bought puzzles. And so when you buy the puzzle, you have the box. And on the box lid is the finished puzzle. So you know what you're doing, right? You know what your image is that you're trying to create. When you tip all those pieces onto a table and it's a big mess, and somebody walks by, it just looks like a mess to them. They
Right.
can't see the picture that you saw. So as an entrepreneur or anyone who has a passion or a vision for your life or what it is that you want to accomplish, be aware that you are the only one who has seen the finished vision. And so it's your job to put it together in a way that other people can understand it, because when they understand it and they see your passion, they see the excitement and they see the opportunity, they will want to come and join you and finish it up. I mean, finishing a puzzle is a really exciting thing, or it used to be to me when I was Canadian and, on the weekends up in the cabins and whatever. So that was the analogy that as I was going through this process, I kept realizing people still don't see my vision. They still can't get it. I need to put more pieces together, and then the picture will start to show up. And it's also similar. There's a drawing that you look at it one way, it looks like an old woman, and you look at it a different way, it looks like a young woman. You have to change people's perceptions. So, and you have to aid them. That's why I say I'm an educator. I know the big picture here. And my job is to help educate people so they can see it too, and not to get angry at them when they don't see it. It just means that I have more work to do. So
I like that. That's really good. That's really good. And it's actually really inspiring how you're looking at it in terms of that analogy with the puzzle, because at some point, and we're not just talking about ENERGYbits here. We're not just talking about building a huge business. This could apply to really anybody.
Anything.
At some point, we all have kind of a puzzle in front of us, and you need to ask questions, and it's going to be hard. You might put some pieces in the wrong place, but hey, it doesn't mean you can't get to the destination, right? And I had a friend of mine actually was on a podcast one time, Hasoon Camaro, a soccer player. He used an analogy once about a GPS, and I loved it. And when you go to work and you're driving down the street and your GPS is telling you, in 5 kilometers or miles for Americans, you're going to have to take the next exit. And I don't know, you got distracted, something happened and you missed your exit, That honestly doesn't mean you're not going to get to work. What the GPS will do is just say, oh, okay, well, we're just going to reroute here and we're going to take this exit and we're going to go this way instead. But it doesn't mean you're not going to get to your destination. And that's a little bit how you explained to us your kind of journey and your vision for the future. I think that was really, really cool how you put that together and how you solved your own puzzle. And it seems like it's not completely finished though.
Oh no, we're just getting started now.
What about that vision though? I mean, I like that because at the end of the day, if you have vision, and for anybody listening, you have a vision, what's ENERGYbits' vision? What's Catharine Arnston's vision of the future, for example?
Oh, I have a very big vision. So I want to become $1 billion company so that we can have the resources to give algae away to disaster areas, nursing homes, school kids' lunches, number one. Number two is to support other organizations that are doing good things, whether it's for nutrition or fitness, to help people live healthier lives, to teach people in other countries how to grow algae so they can sustain themselves in a healthy fashion with a very eco-friendly, sustainable crop. I'd like to grow our algae. We import ours from Taiwan, which is world-renowned for having the highest quality, but I'd like to grow it here in America. And you can grow it anywhere as long as you have fresh water. And actually, there's companies now that are growing it indoors with LED lighting, which is also possible. And I have this vision of having like the equivalent of a Disneyland, but bringing school kids in and showing them how algae is grown and what it does for you, and feeding them a lunch, and truly making algae such a main part of our world, and because it's so healthy. And something needs to be done because we can't keep eating bad, white, sugary, empty calories and expecting our health to be better. We have to take responsibility for ourselves and for our world.
Right.
COVID was a great opportunity to hit the reset button and reevaluate every choice that you make, because there's always an opportunity to make a better one, and it's never too late to make a different choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you 100% on that. And anything that's processed food, anything that's mainstream right now, anything that's processed vegetables, seed oils, all that stuff. I mean, by eliminating that, you make a huge impact on your health and the world in general. And I think algae, by hearing what you're saying, so I'm a big proponent of animal products and animal agriculture done the right way.
Exactly.
I think there's amazing value for everybody, not just nutrition wise, but environmental wise, and all these things that, we need animals on the planet. We just do. And I think ENERGYbits and algae, from what I'm hearing from you, it's a piece of the puzzle there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a piece of the puzzle. It's not the way, but it is a way.
Yeah.
And it's good to hear you have such a big vision, and I think it could be a nice little compliment to making changes around the world, including animal products that are super valuable. But also I think ENERGYbits and algae in general could be a nice piece of the puzzle there as well.
Well, and again, as I say, I think we just need to make better choices. So, for example, animals could be just treated better, fed better. And we know that cow farts create a lot of methane. Well, guess what? They did an experiment, and I've got the science report about this. They started feeding the livestock algae. They put algae in their feed. 99% of the stomach distress and methane disappeared. Bingo, right? So it's not that they're causing the nonstop problem. You're just feeding them the wrong stuff. And here's a typical example of just one of 1,000 examples that I read about. So there's a vitamin called K2 that most people will not know anything about. And almost everyone in North America is deficit in it because it's very hard to find in our food supply. The only food that it is in is either grass-fed animal protein or algae. There's also a dish called natto that the Japanese eat, but nobody in America eats it. So here's the situation. We didn't have a shortage of vitamin 2 in our bodies until the early 70s. Why is that? Because up until the 70s, the animals were all grazing on grass.
Yeah.
And
their species appropriate diet.
Right. So, and animals have an extra bacteria in their stomach that allows them to convert K1. K1 is in anything green. So the animals could convert K1 to K2. And so when we ate animal protein, we got the K2 because it was there. And then in the 70s, the farmers realized that if they moved all the animals into enclosures and fed them corn, they would be able to they would get fat and they would make more money. And overnight, the supply of K2 in our diet disappeared. And that's exactly when heart disease started escalating. And so what does K2 do? K2 moves excess calcium from soft tissue into your bones. And what's soft tissue? It's things like your blood vessels, your skin, your organs. And what is heart disease? What is arterial sclerosis? It's hardening of the arteries. And guess what's hardening? It's calcium. So and algae has all the calcium or all the K2 that you need, especially the one called chlorella, which is we call ENERGYbits. So when you start taking the algae, especially the chlorella, you are helping your body avoid heart disease. Other things that that calcium damages is your skin. Now, I don't know how many women you have listening to your audience, but calcium damages your elastin. And elastin is like the scaffolding that holds up your skin. And so when it gets damaged, it collapses and causes wrinkles. So I virtually have no wrinkles, and I think it's because I eat so much of the chlorella, which pulls out all the excess calcium out of my skin. And I'm going to be 65 this year, so I'm no spring chicken.
There you go.
So there you go. So anyways, the reason I mention that is because what we feed our animals and the way we treat our animals has a direct effect on our own health. And
Absolutely.
so things like algae can sustain and support the animal community, and therefore sustain us and help us be healthier as well. I'll give you one more example. Fish, so many, the natural fish are disappearing because they're being overfished. So there's lots of fish farms. Well, fish farms generally are a netted area where you have the fish spawning, whatever, slightly offshore. But a lot of countries, particularly in the Netherlands, etc., didn't want fish farms with the netting because the fish poop is acidic, and it was killing all the life in the ocean where the fish were, and it would wash up on shore and kill all the vegetations on shore. So you know what they did? They started feeding those fish algae. Problem solved. Because algae is alkaline. Remember, I started this whole journey because my sister told her doctor told her to need an alkaline diet. So it's all comes full circle. If you start to understand, if you can eat a healthy diet, eat animals that are eating a healthy diet,
yep.
It all is sustaining. But I don't want to forget to talk about chlorophyll and the importance of chlorophyll because. There is no chlorophyll in animal products, so even if you are eating just an animal-based, diet, you could still benefit from algae because it is paleo, it is keto, it has no carbs.
So, I mean, by what I'm hearing, Catherine, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the main things that's super beneficial about algae is there's really nothing that you guys add to it. It's just
nothing.
Algae, right? So it's 100%. It's not processed crazily. There's no sugars. There's no wheat. So at the end of the day, by eliminating those things, you eliminated all the issues that a normal kind of standard American diet would give to people. So I think that's great. And you started saying it how. Quality animal agriculture mixed in with, good quality algae, that's maybe a good way to go, right?
Yeah. It's just not everybody's algae is as good as ours. I just want to make sure you're aware of that. We don't use high heat to dry our algae, so that's why ours is still raw and all the enzymes are intact, and we don't put any binders or fillers. Most companies do, but that's why. So ours is 100% pure algae. There's nothing there, and it's not processed. So it's like I said, it's raw. It's a live food. It's just like eating broccoli, except it's got 1,000 times more. It's more nutrition.
1,000 broccolis.
Yeah, right.
Just, I don't want to interrupt you, Catherine, but on the show, we like to have a little kind of break of all these these big conversations we get into, and we call it kind of the greatest of all time section, or at the beginning we call it the halftime show.
Halftime show. All right,
but,
let's get Lady Gaga.
Yeah, exactly. But we always went through. We always go past the halftime, so I think I'm gonna have to change the timing, or just the what we call the halftime show, the GOAT section. We usually ask the same questions to all the people, the guests that we have.
Sure.
And usually they're athletes, so I might switch the questions up a little bit for you.
Okay.
And you're probably a super athlete that we haven't talked about yet.
Not. I wish I was. I used to be fitter than I am, but I'll get back to it. Just like
you'll be all right. You're busy building something great. How about that? All right, let's just start off by saying maybe your favorite book or movie or documentary that inspired you.
Well, I have read 3 times because it's a tough book to read, but it's very powerful. A book called The Course in Miracles, and you can buy it on Amazon. It's been around for 60 years. It's about the size of the Bible, or even bigger. It's a very spiritual book, but it really helps you get in touch with yourself, and you can just read passages of it. So I would recommend that for anybody. There's also a primer that give you an overview of it. You might want to buy that first.
Interesting. Oh no, that's cool. And you were saying, what was the name of the book? And do you know
called
who the author is?
A Course in Miracles. And they've sold something like 60 million copies. So it's made quite in 40 languages. A Course in Miracles.
I'm sure we'll be able to find a copy here and there if there's that many floating around. Okay, normally I would ask who the greatest athlete of all time is according to you, but maybe you can go rogue and give me the most inspirational person that you've had in your lifetime.
Well, I'm going to probably stray a little bit because it's actually not a person, it's a thing, and it's Mother Nature. I am so inspired by Mother Nature, Mother Nature will teach us everything we need to know, including things like nothing happens overnight. Although I did live in Edmonton for a while, and spring happened in one day there, but it's so cold in the wintertime. But everything is gradual. Talk about unstoppable. You see sometimes flowers pushing their way up through a crack in the sidewalk or the pavement. Life happens. Life is this amazing energy, and it will just keep pushing its way through to live. And so does Mother Nature, and Mother Nature just goes with the flow.
Yeah, for sure.
So Mother Nature's always been my inspiration.
Very cool. Oh no, that's a great answer, and we like to hear different perspectives, and that's why we have different types of people on the Inspire podcast. So last question in this little section, and I have a feeling I already know what you're gonna say, but I'm still gonna go ahead. So within the Sisu principles that we were talking about before we started recording about the big concept in Finland of Sisu and the inner strength we all need to go through challenges, there's a lot of words associated to that. And here are some of the words, and I'd like for you to tell me which one resonates with you the most and why. Resiliency, tenacity, perseverance, guts, grit, determination, and courage.
I think courage. Because we're all so surrounded by people that want us to do or to live a life that they had in mind for us, all with good intentions. It could be your teachers, your parents, your siblings, your peers. And it takes courage to truly listen to your own voice and to shut out all the noise. And maybe you'll come to the same conclusions that they had as well, but they're on your terms. And that way you never feel that you're having to live up to someone else's expectation of you. You're only having to live up to your own. And that takes courage. I really feel it takes a lot of courage.
That's a great answer. I love that. And it does. It really, really does. And sometimes you have a challenge in front of you and you don't know if you should jump, or you don't know if you should do it, or you feel a little scared, or something that intimidates you. But it takes a lot of that to just jump and just say, you know what, I'm going to do it. Whatever happens, happens. And sometimes the best things in our life happen when you just jump and you go with a full head of steam, and you just make things happen. So it sounds like that word courage resonates with a lot of people, and it certainly did with me. I think that's great. Hey, look, Catharine, I want to be respectful of your time. We're going to start wrapping it up, and I think maybe we could just touch on chlorophyll, because I
Yep.
don't think we touched about that quickly.
Okay.
And then I got a couple more for you, and then we'll start wrapping it up.
Okay.
How about that? Start us
Great.
off on chlorophyll. I think
Great.
that's the recovery part, right? So
Yes.
we talked about spirulina, and now let's go to chlorophyll.
Yeah. So we call our chlorella algae ENERGYbits because it helps you recover your health. And one of the things it does is it helps you because it has the highest concentration of chlorophyll. Spirulina has the highest concentration of protein. Chlorella has the highest chlorophyll. So you say, well, what's so important about chlorophyll?
Yeah.
I could
What
spend
is so
all day.
important about chlorophyll?
Well, I'm going to tell you just a couple of quick things. So this is a chart I'm showing you. This is the chemical composition of your blood, and this is the chemical composition of chlorophyll. Notice that they're virtually identical. That's because they are, with only one exception. Your blood has hemoglobin or an iron atom in the middle, which is what carries oxygen, and chlorophyll has magnesium in the middle. Otherwise, they are identical. This is why chlorophyll is so important. It builds your blood. And up until as recently as, and even during World War II, when they ran out of blood for transfusions for the injured, they would give them liquid chlorophyll because they would heal just as fast. And up until the pharmaceutical industries got their hands on us, and for centuries, whenever anyone was sick, and even when your dog is sick, he'll eat grass. It's because the chlorophyll builds your blood and is very healing. When you have healthy blood, you will have a healthy body. You will have a healthy immune system, healthy organs. It doesn't get any more basic than that. The problem is there's virtually no chlorophyll in our vegetables or our greens anymore because of what I mentioned. The soils are so damaged and the ozone layer is causing plants to have more sugar in them.
So it seems like chlorophyll has more of a therapeutic kind of use to it than kind of an everyday type thing.
Well, you want to have healthy blood every day. You want to have healthy oxygen every day.
But does
it's
that
not
mean
therapeutic
that
at all.
If you're not kind of, if your blood isn't missing anything in the first place, let's say you have a super solid whole foods diet, for example, and you're a pretty healthy human being, but you don't need that therapeutic use of chlorophyll, would you benefit from it extra? That's just my question.
Well, I'd like to make it very clear. Chlorophyll is essential for optimal health, period. It also has healing properties that make it exceptional for restoring health, but to keep and maintain optimal performance because it has so many nutrients in it that build your blood. Number two, which I haven't talked about yet, chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. And all of your health issues, good and bad, start at the cellular level. And to be healthy, you have to have healthy cells, healthy mitochondria, and to keep them healthy, you have to have healthy cell walls. And to do that, you need fats. And because chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment, I'm going to show you another picture. This is chlorophyll, how it clumps if you put it in water. It's because water and fat don't mix, right? Mm-hmm. This is spirulina. See how it flows through the waters evenly? That's the blue pigment, because that's a water-based pigment. But the fat-based pigment in chlorophyll builds your cell walls. And that means it allows your cells to be healthy, the cell wall to be healthy, so nutrients can get in and toxins can get out. And that keeps your mitochondria healthy and prevents you from having rogue cells, less communicative cells. It improves your ATP. And the best way to describe it for people to help them have an analogy is, when you have dirty windows, you can't see out and sunlight can't get in. So think of chlorophyll as window washers for your cell walls because it keeps everything working properly. And on a side note, there's been some interesting research lately that when you add chlorophyll and sunlight or red therapy, and a lot of athletes probably know about red light therapy, and I actually just bought one myself. When you have chlorophyll and red light therapy, it generates ATP, which is the energy for your body at the cellular level. That's extraordinary because there's something called the Krebs cycle that everyone thinks is the only way to generate energy, either from fats or from glucose. But the chlorophyll itself, because what it does is it recycles the CoQ10 molecule and allows it to recycle, so it continues to in the mitochondria export chain or whatever it's called. So anyways, it's pretty exciting. So chlorophyll builds your blood, builds your cells. It's very healing. Only about 10% of it gets absorbed in your stomach. The rest of it travels through your organs and your gut, your intestines. So it's and it absorbs toxins while it's doing that. So it's a very, very healing property. So I would encourage people not to think of it as just something for when you're sick. You should be taking chlorophyll every single day. And I tell people, why would you take liquid chlorophyll when you can take chlorella? Because chlorella has 25 times more chlorophyll than liquid chlorophyll and 200 times more than spinach. There's nothing in the world with more chlorophyll.
Okay, so chlorophyll is within the chlorella kind of tablet that you guys are. Okay.
So chlorella algae contains the highest chlorophyll in the world. And so, and whether you're, a meat-based person or vegan, it doesn't really matter. Nobody is getting enough chlorophyll to enjoy the benefits of it. You only get it from the algae.
That's very, very interesting stuff, and I encourage people to make their own reading and their own assessment. And I imagine that you guys have quite the educational kind of content on ENERGYbits.
Yes.
And how to make their own decision and be critical of it themselves. So if the evidence is there, you make your own decision and you do it. And I think that's really cool how you brought it.
And we'll send you lots of articles that you can post. And I encourage people, I say, sometimes it's like, you don't notice red cars until you have one. Now that you know about algae, please go on the internet. Be aware that some of the information on the internet is not quite accurate, but you'll find out that there are thousands and thousands. Remember, I said there's 100,000 studies on algae. So there's a lot around. Go into the PubMed, the NIH library. It's thousands of them, thousands and thousands and thousands, except no one told you about them, except until now.
Until now, there you go. So, all right, as we wrap it up, a couple final thoughts. I'd just like to know, we always like to keep it very inspirational at the end, and we like to share the guidance of, or let our guests guide us for the rest of our day or the next few weeks and give their expertise or their experience. As you have a lot of experience through business, through nutrition now, through kind of building something, and like you said, it doesn't happen overnight. So what's something that makes you the most proud of your journey so far, and what inspires you moving forward now? So what's made you the most proud so far, and now what are you taking moving forward?
So many answers to that, my gosh. But I think one of the biggest challenges I've had, and anyone who is an entrepreneur will appreciate this, is that when you first start out, you're what's called a solopreneur. You do everything. You have to strategize, visualize, execute, and so you're run ragged, quite honestly, and it's very exhausting. And then eventually you end up bringing on a few people to work with you. And so you have to learn how to move from being an entrepreneur to a leader. And so one of the things I'm proudest of, and it's been the hardest thing for me to do because I'm very much a hands-on person, is learn how to lead my team, to set the pace, set the tone, set the vision, and encourage them to be the ones doing the work. Because to build something big, you do not do it yourself. Even if you're an athlete, to reach the upper levels, you need a team. You need a coach.
People around you helping
you need nutrition. You need a lot of different things. So to be great, you never do it alone. Never. So that's has been a very difficult thing for me to learn, and I'm still learning, and I've got a long way to go. Trust me. But I think I can start to feel what it's like, and actually. Eventually it feels, I'm in transition right now, but I can see that it's going to feel great, because when you are on your own, you feel so responsible for every single minutia, and it's draining. And so to feel that you can trust someone to do a good job, and then you feel supported. You really feel supported.
Absolutely. You always need a team. And we talked about it a little bit earlier. The best of the best, they rarely do it just for themselves. It happens, obviously, but they rarely do it just for them, and they don't do it alone. It takes a team. It takes people around you. It takes a support system. It takes a family, And lastly, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want people to remember Catharine Arnston by?
Well, I was talking to somebody lately because I saw the movie Coming to America with Coming to America, the second, and I was like, well, it's sort of like algae's coming to America. I'd love to be the one known, but again, I don't seek that kind of fame. But it would be kind of nice to be associated with helping bring the awareness of something so powerful, so good, so healthy for both you and the earth, as the one that kind of got it happening. So, because I feel that Mother Nature has given us and provided us with everything we need, we just have to pay more attention to it. And algae's just been misunderstood. So I'd like to be part of the group that helps people understand what it is. So it's not so
very
weird.
Cool. No, it's honestly very inspiring because you're one of those pioneers, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You're one of those.
I'm
you're one of those
pioneer.
pioneers. Exactly, and it takes a lot of inner strength for that, and you're really showing it. So I'm really happy you came today to kind of share your story, share your journey, talk about ENERGYbits in general, talk about nutrition, and like I said earlier, people that know me know I'm a huge proponent of animal-based nutrition, but this is very, very interesting, and there's immense potential to help a lot of people in the world with algae. So it's very interesting. You brought some perspective that I've never heard before, and that's really cool.
Great.
I'm happy about that. So honestly, at Living Sisu, we're super happy to have you guys as partners, and I honestly thank you very much for coming to speak with me today.
And if anyone wants to learn more or buy some, if you want, we have a 20% discount code, Living Sisu, all one word, and ENERGYbits, ENERGY, B for boy, IT for Tom, S for Sam. And I don't want anyone to have sticker shock, because when you come to the website, we sell them in large bags, and there's 1,000 tablets in a bag. And it's normally $120, but we sell them for $96 with the discount code. But what I want you to know is using that NASA calculation, each one of those bags has the equivalent nutrition of 551 pounds of vegetables. That's 551 pounds of vegetables you didn't have to carry home, clean, cook, or eat. So just be aware, it's what I call efficient nutrition. And if you don't want to buy the full bag, you can go on Amazon and buy a single.
Try it out first and then see what happens.
For $4.
No, very cool.
So,
very cool.
But Living Sisu is the discount code, and we encourage you to enjoy that. And it works for everything all the time.
Excellent. So last thing, I'll just give you the opportunity to either talk about social media, any books you recommend, any plugins, websites, anything else. I know you just alluded to that a little bit, but if there's anything else you like to say, you got the floor for how much time you want.
Okay. Well, we're also very active on social media, so we do a lot of giveaways, and our handle is @ENERGYbits, both for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're most active on Instagram, but we're on all of them. And you were asking me anything new. I've just recently invested in a red light therapy light myself, and I've already started noticing some improvements. So there's light, right? It comes from the sun, except when you go outside, you also have the UV rays, which can be damaging. And this is just capturing the red and infrared lights, part of the sunlight. So I would just, I would just encourage people to keep an open mind, look at the traditional, Aboriginal, ancient ways that for centuries people have stayed healthy and healed themselves and fed themselves, and those that we've lived this long because they worked.
Absolutely.
So just be a little more open-minded, and maybe talk to your great-grandparents if they're still with us, and you find your own path. But whatever resonates with you is the thing that you should do. It would be my final say.
Very cool. I love those final words. Live naturally. Whatever you feel, that's great. I like that a lot. Thank you so much, Catherine. I really appreciate it, and hope you have a great day.